Joint Skill Initiative Program for Young Women by DSCI and Microsoft. So I'm delightful to welcome you all in the AISS 2023. The session we have cybersecurity research to productization, and I'm glad to invite all the panelists. We have Mr. Gaurav, Assistant Professor, IIT Jammu, welcome. And Ms. Tulika Pandey, Scientist, G and Group Coordinator, Research and Cybersecurity. Welcome you, ma'am. And we have a moderator, Dr. Sarvjit Kaur, Associate Director, Research, DSCI. Welcome, ma'am. Then we have Mr. Jaydeep, CEO, Co-founder, InfoPercept Consulting Private Limited. Welcome, sir. Then we have Mr. Praveen, Professor and Pro Vice Chancellor, Chitkara University. Welcome, sir. And I'm thankful to DSCI for giving this wonderful opportunity to learn and forward to see the session today, and requesting moderator to lead the session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manusha. First of all, I would like to welcome the eminent panel and the distinguished speakers we have today with us from distinguished bodies and contributing significantly towards this very appropriate session on research to productization, cybersecurity, what it means, what are imperatives, the driving vehicles, and how to streamline it ultimately for the betterment to yield out through this for the betterment of our nation. And at the same moment, I would like to welcome the eminent audience who, by their presence itself, means that they are associated with the theme and are concerned about the innovation in the country. So, to start with, let us first of all put a bit of our attention towards what research productization is all about, per se, that too in the field of cybersecurity and cyber research. So, we all, I think, let me have a small analogy to put forth. I think in being a part of this nation of ours that is full of culture, ethics and all, in the morning I think we all pray to God. Channel we open to send our connection to that world where there the energy source lies. And this is what we call as prayer. And when that is answered from there, this is what we call as blessings. And in between, if it is tapped well, lies the magic, which brings wonders. So it's true for this field, on one side of which we do have research, and on the other side we do have industries. They have different outcome. They have different prerequisites as well. But when mapped together, there creates a life force, a driving force that brings magic, that gives us a state whereby we carve out innovation. Right now we talk about struggles, we talk about challenges, we talk about the gaps, we talk about we need technology. But if this gap, which itself needs research, which itself calls for penetrating and going down, if it's tapped well, brings out wonders. It creates technology innovation. It creates the edge, which helps us to come to the forefront. Businesses, when we talk about, you can have a forefront by having innovation in your products, in your technology, whatever you are into, maybe services as well. But innovation means what? Being first or the best. Either you are the first to bring something in, then you can create or reap out the benefit, or you bring out the best. That is not there at this moment. So when we talk about the gaps, when we think of the technology needs, when we think of those technology needs being fulfilled, we talk about nothing else but research. Research has that deep dive roots, that far-sighted approach to look at the gaps, to percolate deeper, to come out with solutions to give you so that you can have better standing in the time to come and to play with. So, before we dive deeper, let me start with Dr. Gaurav Varshney, being a professor at IIT Jammu and also an eminent researcher. What, according to you feel is research all about? This research productization all about? Because let me first of all also bring to your kind notice that at NCOE, that is a joint initiative of Data Security Council of India and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, which deals into this field of research productization. We bridge the gap, how to bring out the research to the use of industry so that together they can develop out a technology which masses can manifest on, which they can use further for a better cybersecurity preparedness and resilience. And we have come out with various success stories. One eminent role has been played by research community, and to this is being represented by Mr. Gaurav Varshney. And I would like to give it to you. Now you please come up with the experience of yours in this field as a whole.
Thank you very much. So I think research is innovation. I would like to actually discuss one of the research that we have done with NCOE. And this is a success story actually in which we can say that industry and academia both work together. So when 370 was there in Jammu, so we faced a problem. So internet was not there, and for a year almost the internet services were down for public. And at that point of time, we identified that how a person will do digital payments when there is no internet. And this idea is very practical. Like for example, in 2019, when this happened, I went to people and I said that this is actually a problem. And many of us will not be able to relate this problem, and they'll say that, okay, this is not a problem, everyone is having internet, 5G is there and things like that. But then you'll be able to identify that there is a place for research here. If you see the state of Ukraine, if you see the state of Palestine, wherein wars are going on, internet connectivity is not there, how they'll be doing payments. What happens when earthquake happens, right? So there are so many things. So you'll be able to relate to a research problem when you actually live that problem. And I just went to DSCI and said that, can you basically fund us for something? Because this is an innovative idea. We would like to work on that. My students are there and they're interested in doing this thing. And we identified that DSCI said, okay, yes, what you need, we'll fund that, and you do the open research, see what can happen. And I'm happy to say that we are able to actually develop a solution which is totally offline, completely verified payments can happen, and we technology transferred it to a company in 2021, and it is productized, and it is there a part of that wallet application of that company. So I think that research is innovation, because you asked what is research. To me, it's innovation. It's sometimes it is open, sometimes you can say that it is a closed research. You say that, okay, you need a product out of it. Sometimes it is open. And for a researcher, both publications, because a lot of people say that researchers do publications, so they have nothing to do with actual research. Or in the industry, there is an understanding that, okay, publications is basically something which is not applied research or things like that. No, it's not. Actually, academia is not built to do research in the form that industry wants. And there is a separate line of difference between both of how they work. Research is about a researcher in academia is interested in finding out technologies which are for social good, which are free of cost available. And the only way to do that is by having a publication. So you say that, okay, this is the research, use it for free, there's no problem with it. So publications is not something that you say it's something which is not usable. It is the most usable thing. And most of the problems, if you see, most of the problems, I saw outside, there are a lot of stalls which are there talking about AI and things like that. I'll say that these all things are there in the papers. You go back, you read research papers, all things are there. It's just they were not implemented because they are not there to implement it. There's a separate line of gap between how academia works and how industry works. Industry is there to convert those ideas to actual products. So till the time academia is able to develop a prototype of a technology, I'll say that they've done their task the best. They cannot be focused on developing those things. So I think the research is a very important part of both industry and academia. And I think with organizations like DSCI, we are doing it well. Yeah.
Yeah, so as Dr. Gaurav said, the researchers have some limitations, some mandate, but what they are coming up with is, if absorbed, if it's embraced, it can create great value. Industry, ransomware has happened in the last session. There was a question that found significant by most of the people because it was raised. Suppose in a company, ransomware happens. people know that what are the reasons why they'll pay for that. So the response was that most often it is paid because your reputation is on stake. He said in the countries which are developing nations, probably it has been seen through the statistics, people doesn't prefer to pay just because of reputation. It's the data, it's the disruption, it's the discontinuity that pushes you to pay for that. Now, when a problem comes and we look for a solution may not be there. So it's research which lays down roots, which gives you before that incidence, the preparedness that, okay, the solutions are there. And I think I have seen in academic institutions that insight also taking a better shape, that whatever we are doing, we have to project it in a form so that it can be easily embraced by industry people so that technology can come out of that. So this twist, this change has created a lot of value. So now moving towards Mr. Jaydeep. He is one of a cybersecurity entrepreneur working in cloud security and many other segments, and has also been a part of this research productization journey. So I would just like you to contribute towards this according to your perspective.
Thank you, ma'am, for the introduction. Overall, we had a great experience working with NCOE and DSCI. The way it started for us is like we had been building our services organization for first 5 years. Then we had been building our own platform for another 5 years. We have been strongly evolving on our solution in terms of on-premises cloud. And when we came to know from few of our customers that there is a larger demand for OT security. So there were few manufacturing customers, few energy customers coming to us and saying that what can you do for us in terms of the OT security? At that time, we got in touch with NCOE. We explained what we have built, and then we agreed on a program, which was OT Security Acceleration Program, where what NCOE helped us was brought in the government, the end users who are leveraging OT in India, all the PSUs and other private sectors, where they are facing challenges in terms of OT security, and also brought institutes and researchers on the same platform. So the way we organized this initially first was to define the problem statement, understand what we have and how it can be leveraged in the OT environment, and basis that we find the gap of what is required so that we can fulfill the requirements of the OT security customers. So that's where the overall program was organized. We understood the problem statement from all the OT end users. We defined it. And then we started talking to a few of the researchers in terms of what is different between IT and OT. So there is a convergence between OT and IT, and OT requires understanding of the non-IT protocols also. So we got in touch with few researchers. We were able to test it with our own product. And finally, we were able to do the technology transfer where MIT also supported us to make it happen, which I think is one of the first in India where we did a transfer from a researcher to an entrepreneur. And now in terms of productization, it requires a lot. The way we heard the professor saying that it's more about innovation. When we are doing research, it's more about innovation. But when it comes to business, we need to productize it to such a level that it is marketable and customers can buy it. So we are in that journey of productizing it.
Yeah, so that means if we have a product and suppose we take a product and we add it to a list, it has some value. But when you go to research and then you embrace it to form a product, it has more greater and deeper impact, and which probably you could also find out and further you're able to now churn out profits through. So this is what NCOE has been involved in, but there are more such initiatives and thrusts required so that whatever is the outcome of research definitely is able to create a proof of concept. Research is able to pilot out things. Research is able to show you, okay, this is now the new thing, how it can be leveraged for. But industry has that product engineering life cycle. They have that expertise, which can add value, which can create GUIs, maybe adding more features, and they can bring it to a form which is more easily embraced or utilized by the citizens, by the people as a whole. So being close to to that, I think this is where they have a role to perform on. So with us also we do have Dr. Khosla, who is the Pro Vice Chancellor of University. At the same time, he is former ED of CDAC. So he has been closely working towards product development, and also I would just like to know from your good self, so what are the challenges that we see out there, and what is more there that can be contributed towards this?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my views. I feel this is the period for India when we'll be taking quantum leaps to make it a Viksit Bharat. And that means we need to think big, we need to think global. And when it comes to research to productization, it's a transition of all critical steps, right from research and innovation to practical and usable products and solutions. We need to bridge the gap between what researchers have done and what real world demands. And on the one hand, we have large number of researchers. I would say they are in thousands or tens of thousands who are doing research day in, day out, very diligently, and producing publications and patents which are need of the country as well as the universities. But then how many takers are there for that research? Is it relevant to the market? That's the challenge that we are facing. And on the other hand, it's the cybersecurity domain which needs those products and solutions and that research which improves the cybersecurity posture. Now, the challenge before the research community is, how do they get to those problem statements? How do they do the market research themselves? Or can the people in the forefront who are battling it out day in, day out in the security operations center or in other operations or field deployments or the security gadgets, maybe security information event management kind of stuff. Now, that's where it is lacking. We need to have some structured way how this information, what the pain points of the people in the field can reach the researchers on which they work on. The other challenges which the research community faces is the availability of data. It's true, the CERT has made it mandatory that any compromised data must be shared. But then is it really shared? Unless it's a very large impact, large incident which has compromised the security of an organization, it's not shared. And let's say even if it is shared, it's there with the handful of fellows, it doesn't reach the security professionals. I have PhD scholars working in, the ma'am had mentioned about the ransomware, working in the ransomware, but she is not getting the data that she wants, in spite of writing to the government departments. So data is a big challenge for us. On similar lines, you have honeypots deployed across the country in thousands by the government sector and the private sector. But then again, the data of that is available only with the select few, not with the research community at large. Similarly, malware registry, again, there are registries, but is that accessible to us? Is the nation-specific intelligence available? Is the country-specific data available with us? That's a very big challenge for us. Then coming out with the products, doing the research, yes, coming out with the products which have a limited number of, say, false positives or false negatives is a challenge. The research that is done, if let's say security information event management, some of the Indian products have also appeared, but then the feedback from the security operations center is the false positives and false negatives are so large that they feel they have been rather burdened rather than elevating their load. So we need to look at those, and there are challenges of interoperability. Suppose you have put up a security information event management, I am taking up one example, wherein you need to collect and aggregate the data from a very large number of devices. and what interoperability exists between them, what protocols they follow, what kind of logs and the structures are available. If the interfacing itself takes some 3 to 4 months time, where will the startup sustain then? If the deployment of the product takes very long, and over and above deployment of devices like honeypots, the users are not aware. They feel that if they deploy it, they will become more vulnerable, because we are creating deliberate vulnerability in the honeypots, and they feel that yes, my own network will get compromised because many people will become interested that there are some assets here which they can compromise. Yes, we do have large number of talents, publishers, researchers, but are they of the right quality? And how will that quality come if their experience is only in the imaginary research, unless the problem statements on which they work are market relevant? And how do we retain such good talent? These are some of the challenges that are faced. We have representation from MIT, Dr. Tulika Pandey is there, but there are problems of funds and the resources. This research requires sustaining the fund. For sustaining research, we require funds. How do we secure those funds? These challenges are there with the public sector as well as private sector, but it's all the more with the private sector entities that such avenues. I'm happy to learn that she is focusing in that area now. Looks like some solutions may emerge that yes, tier 2, tier 3 universities which carry out the actual research are also supported by the government. And then lastly, we need to focus on, as I'm saying, we have to think global, larger adoption of the products that we develop. And larger adoption would come when there is a viability and there is a cost effectiveness. So it's a whole ecosystem on which the researchers need to focus on, and they are facing very many challenges in the process. That's it from me. Thank you.
Yeah, very rightly, I think, enumerated some of the challenges that are being faced by cybersecurity research community as a whole. Means in per se, they have enumerated nicely that there is more ecosystem support, there is more data coherence required. Exchange of data is definitely one thing that researchers look at, because especially in this world that we are into, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about embracing AI models for everything that we have been doing earlier to add more value, to create more edge towards. We are moving towards those AI anticipation and those solutions. But AI is as good as is the data fed to it, the data sets. You are training it on some other data sets, but when it is expected to work on actual data set, it becomes trivial. So definitely, if that data sets are available and ecosystem is more compliant towards that, it can bring wonderful results. And now the thing is this, that researchers, they have, because throughout we have premier institutions like you take IITs, NIITs and all. Apart from the tier 2, tier 3 researchers, they are coming up with very good solutions. But to bridge it better, to tether it better, there are various modalities which are required. As they said, we need to know the use case, whereby if we align our research to, we can create wonderful result. So as means being involved in this kind of research productization for a couple of years here, being at DSCI National Center of Excellence as well, I could delve into this, whereby we have been doing this exercise, which is more top down as well as bottom up, whereby we are talking to industry also, being close to industry, being an industry body, we have this privilege to know what are the use cases. We carve out those use cases and communicate back to researchers. And whatever researchers are dwelling in, we have a very good cybersecurity research tool that we call as CSRN, that has a data of more than 560 researchers in different core niche areas of expertise they have owned to. That tool can be used, scrolled up, we get to know the experts who are doing research in particular cybersecurity area, so that they can come closer, they can work with more ease. The platforms, mainly researchers and industry, they need a platform where they can come close, they can get to know each other, they can bridge up easily, so that that collaborative effort can take more impetus on. So through our research and development, innovation, roadshows, and there are various such kind of events we keep on organizing, which not only helps in bringing the people together on the same stage, but also in exchange of ideas, knowledge, wisdom, to get to know each other well. In my past experience, to get into work closely with academia, to get those research tools being prepared, I could see there is great talent there. They could produce out those solutions for those sensitive problem areas that if would have been purchased from Israel or some other country that otherwise we people have been doing for. It not only incurs a huge cost burden, they are license based. 2 or 3 bodies can only make use of that. What about others? Don't they need that? Don't they need such tools or facilities or enablement? But then there comes affordability. So having indigenous researched tool and technology is the need, which create a great impact, not only for one, but for all. Coming to that, we once looked towards our academic counterparts. We clubbed, we moved closer to them. We gave them the problem statements and the opportunity. The kind of tools, the kind of products that have been developed. They may lack the user experience, you may say, but the innovation is at par to the global level. So this is the area whereby we are stepping into the segment where such kind of efforts need more attention to. It need to be understood well. Only then they can be embraced well as well. So here we will talk about our presence. That what more are we citing from this as a whole? Means when we have joined the research community close to the industry people, there comes various things. That outcome of research, which is a POC, which is a pilot, that needs to make more sophisticated, more customized, maybe by adding GUI, maybe by creating UI UX, maybe by wrapping it, by providing itself a defense mechanism so that it becomes more resilient to be used. More customization in terms of adding value to the user's expectation, what users is also expecting at the same time. And for doing those kind of efforts, it is important to have a handshaking with industry partner, because they are the ones who are good at. Research is not having this as a mandate. And when they two comes together, embrace and work towards that niche, then we get the product, the technology, which is having greater shelf life. If the technology is out today, it is going to last for good time. You can make use of that because it has been developed with that far-sightedness that otherwise, that today's scenario, you have got a product, you were having a problem, you developed something out, but you didn't research it well. So that innovation has that ounce of scope of better shelf life that it offers, that can be enjoyed on by industry people if it is looked on or is embraced well. But now stitching the two together itself calls for various modalities in which this effort or this technology that has been developed by a researcher should be transferred to industry person. There is a lot of understanding required. While working closely, we have developed that understanding. We could get those MOUs done. Like you want a consultancy from a researcher to be with you for some time, or you want it to be a one-time technology transfer. And at the same time, how would you intact the interest of researcher? Whether it'll be having involved IP sharing or not. But after working closely in this domain, while churning out that experience, we could tether out and bridge out the two together efficiently and successfully. And let me tell this house, we could generate out significant success stories. Technologies developed out of this collaboration successfully, that too by bringing more significant values in those areas which were not touched earlier. Like offline authentication, as Dr. Gaurav Varshney said, is the need of the hour. If you don't have internet, we are so well equipped to the digital payments. We cannot think of having cash. We are paying through digital modes. There is no internet. There is no need to lament. You have a solution with you. We have got digital forensics in field of drones. This is the one area whereby even law enforcement has been looking for some good solutions to come to, where research has come forth, produced those solutions, our industry has embraced that, and we are having very good solutions coming to, being circulated to law enforcement for their usage. Now, moving next, we have got some very good solutions on federated learning, for computing. We have got very good solutions for having end-to-end security solutions for IoT devices. With the 5G proliferation, if more IoT devices are coming, how do you want to identify those rogue devices and all? So I think, Mr. Jaydeep, I would like to know from you also, what more could you find in that product that you embrace from research, and from you also, Dr. Gaurav?
So, as I said, like we had the IT ready product, which was our platform, but the platform was not understanding the non-IP protocol. And we also learned that there are different vendors like the Snyder's, Siemens, Honeywell, Rockwell, all the OT players, and they had their own protocols. The cyber attacks, as we learned, they were lending into IT, and from IT they were attacking the OT environment, which was from the SCADA to PLC and PLC to the sensors, where we need some solution where it can understand the attacks going from IT to OT, which is non-IP protocol. With the researcher, we understood that he has appropriately built that IDS, which can detect those attacks, which was built in a lab environment and also with the support from the government. It was also tested with one of the customer also, but it was still a research in a sense, like it was, as Mem was talking about, it's more CLI based. There was no GUI. There was no specific hardware on which it was built. And what was required was to productize it. So we understood where it stands, what needs to be done so that it can be shown as a product, which requires an hardware, which requires an UI UX, and which is kind of zero touch, because products requires to be zero touch so that it can be deployed easily. So we did all of it, and the kind of support that we had was researcher is still involved with us, supporting us on what was built by them, understanding what is required by the industry, and we are jointly taking it to the next level so that it can be used. And now we have also started deploying with few of the customers here in India, and we should be soon deploying it in Kuwait also. So that way journey has been great with the research and innovation built by the researchers.
Yes. Yeah, so before starting the product, so we discussed a lot about the research in India, and we say that the research in India is not very good, and we hear a lot of things about that, and we say the research is not very practical, and most of the research is in papers. Let me ask a question. So what's the most motivation which is in India for research? So after a BTech, in IITs, an average package goes 20, 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs. Why this person is gonna do an MTech for 12,000 rupees a month? There's no motivation. Let's talk about private universities, right? So we go with any university, and we say that you should do research. So is the university giving any additional time to this researcher? No. Most of the private universities, they do not have any kind of benefit to the researcher for doing research.
So that means we get to hear that there are some of the pain points that researcher also faces. And this ecosystem, that means, needs to be touched up, more gripped up, so that we can have those facilitations and all. Yeah.
Dr. Sarabji, I would like to now get in, I've been listening to all of you. I wanted to really, first of all, address the issue, what really is research? And there's a slight understanding that I see. The academia says research is innovation. And when he talks about research, he is talking about there's a need for the right support. There's a gap in motivation for them to take up research. And then also they're limiting to the expectation that the people should have from them. That's one. The industry says that if we have the right research outcome, we would be able to take it to the shelf to make it a product, right? And the research arm in between the R&D institutions are able to, take up those TRL 1 or 2 level work that is done in academia to then take it higher up and, showcase its efficacy, which is then demonstrated to the industry that it's a mature technology and can be taken up. But I would like to come back to research. Research, again, is 3 types, right? One is when you say motivation, the motivation is the problem statement that you're observing around you. much of the research that has been taken up and the solutions that you yourself mentioned was a need of the hour. It led you to saying, look, this can be addressed. So that was the first research. So you had a problem statement which you took up as a possible solution, and that was the first level of research. Okay, the other, that's called the applied research. The other is futuristic research, where we're talking about core modeling of the technology behind which is required to be able to address larger, problems, or to be able to then build those equipments and tools that will solve larger problem statements. So that's a research which is futuristic, which is pure research, which may not see the light of the day. It's not an applied research. But that research is valued, and those are the research papers that we look into when we start looking to address solutions that we need. Then it is those research papers that we go back to look into for the probable application for solutions. And the example is here, because academia that was funded by MAITI developed a proof of concept which was ready for the team to pick up and immediately transform it into a possible deployment tool very soon there in the market. So there is a very clear understanding of what really research is and what is the the push that is required, what is the temperament that is required for research. So for applied research, the government is funding. Even for futuristic research, the budget especially has been kept around. So you really need to know where you stand, and the government is open. There is a regular announcement of thrust areas where the government is funding. That's one. But it's not just the government. If you have the right approach, the industry too is listening to you. And I have seen many examples of many research being funded by industry bodies. And of course, we have seen that again at DSCI, because DSCI is an industry body. And they're spreading thin and spreading wide to really identify some of the innovations that we see around in the country, which is the National Center of Excellence that MAITI is funding here. That is a job given to it, to be able to help the government to identify, support the startups in every which way. So they have an incubation, they have at every level that a startup would need support, that has been funded by the Government of India. That is the first proof of concept, and we have seen success here, and we intend to now expand it further. So that's the second part. We really need to know that if I know that my idea works, I should be able to convey it for the right use case. And by the way, the innovation doesn't just happen because of the research of the technology, the tool. The innovators many a times are sitting out in the market, because we have seen, this very old example of our washing machines being used down in Punjab for curding the milk. So the innovation is not you, right? You built a technology, you built a tool. But its use cases are the places where you will see the real innovation. So you would have built a technology with one thought process in mind, one application, one particular problem statement in mind, but the end use cases would arise after that particular technology is mature. So we'll have to understand that research is to bring out these ideas, these models, which can then get adopted to lead, which will lead to the innovation. So these are things that we really need to understand. What we in the Government of India are trying to do is to, especially for the area of cybersecurity, we are very aware that our only best partner for a national security will be our startups. They will develop tools, technologies for the country, by the country, and will therefore at least address one level of security gap that we have been observing. The data exfiltration that happens when we are using tools from outside is something that we need to address. So that's one area that we're trying to fund. The second very important aspect is, as mentioned by every speaker here, is the connect between research, the productization. How will that happen? Because each different layer is not always directly connecting with each other. So for that, there is one thing that we are trying to do now. I'm not sure if it's going to give us the result in the next year, but if we have a very clear roadmap for us, a roadmap for the nation, that means if there is a research, what is the research area that one should take up? Any academia or any R&D institution should take up. If there is a product, a possible applied technology that is required, the startups can take that idea and immediately convert it into products and tools that can be used. And if the industry is sure of the technology's maturity, it will take it up for a national, off-the-shelf product for the later use. However, we are very aware that we cannot have one product, one solution for one and all. Therefore, there's a need for a consultative process that has to be built in. And that is where the government of India, MeitY has initiated this process of building out roadmaps for the areas which are critical to the country as today. One is the Internet of Things, the other is data security, the third is network security, the fourth is forensics tools that we're trying to, make our own. And so we have identified 6 such areas where we need to talk and walk with all of you. If you all can contribute to that, it will be a roadmap which you can own and which will tell you that your product, your innovation, your research will survive, will be useful. You will be funded for it. The second very important initiative that the government is taking is to reach out far and wide. So it's not that you are not coming to the government for taking the grants and aid funds that we give. It is the government of India. We are traveling around the country, every state, trying to identify colleges, institutions, and places of innovations, those that we can identify and bring them to the national level. We are creating those clusters of research, clusters of innovation that the country can tomorrow claim to have established for becoming the global hub for research and development and productization in the area of cybersecurity. These are the few things that we think are the right steps, but the government is open to listening to you, to knowing from you what would be the appropriate ideas or challenges that we could address in some manner. You will have to come as an association or write to us, and my team is sitting here with me. You can write to any of us. We will respond back to you. We will take you on board because the intent of the government is very clear. We need all partners on board. So be it a startup, be it an industry, be it an academia or an institution, everybody will have to be walking together, and we'll have to know exactly what role and what exact delivery we'll be making to complete the cycle in whichever area we take up as our product area. And for that, we need to assure that this is the stack that we will deliver in an X period of time. It could be 3 years, it could be 1 year, it could be 5 years. So when you look at the roadmaps, the draft roadmaps that you will be seeing on MeitY website very soon, will give you, these are the drafts. We are holding 4 such consultations, multi-stakeholder consultations across the country, after which we will finalize the roadmap, which we will then present to the government of India as a whole. And that roadmap will be the reference for all of us to follow for the next few years. The roadmap currently targets 2030 and 2047. So we really are trying to put things in such a perspective that all of us are able to work jointly. We're all connected. And if there are any gaps, we'll be happy to address that further. Thank you.
Mr. Khosla wanted to add something. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I broadly agree by and large with all that honorable panelist has mentioned, except one point where I have a slightly divergent view. We shouldn't be expecting a startup to do the development. They are so much bogged down by the go-to-market strategy, setting up a private limited company, supporting the customer. Day in, day out, they are battling it out. So the R&D part be left to the R&D institutes. So they be supported, and the startups can focus on their own activities, on the work that has been given to them, or when they are part of the R&D institute. Yeah, thank you.
actually what METI is now doing is whenever we are giving a grants in need for any research project, we are asking that all these stakeholders are a part of it right from the beginning. So we'll have all the partners on board, and then we will see that if that particular research work has led to some outcome, how it will immediately go to the market. So we need to bridge this, segmentations right in the beginning, and that is the intent. That it may not happen that every research project is going to lead to a product, but if there is a possible case, all the industry would have a very different approach to the research and would guide that research to its product. If there is a startup which already has been working in a similar idea, the startup would pull the research into a particular area where it could be then leading to a product. So we need to have all hands on board. If you really want to speed up where India has to reach in the next 3 years, we need all hands on board. And the current funding, the grants in aid that the government is doing is with all the partners on board in any project that we are funding. The project sizes are large. We are not anymore limiting the budgets. We are only saying, give us the exact timeline and give us what is a possible outcome. Even if you are allowed to say, no, this is only a futuristic research and we do not intend to take it to application in the next few years, that job will be left out for next step. Even that is accepted. But at least we should know right from the beginning what we are trying to attempt, what we are getting together for. So I think that's one intent, of course, but let's see if it doesn't give us results or if there are too many naysayers there, we'll see for another strategy to take up. So until then, yes, we are taking up the strategy.
Yeah, I think because dwelling into all these discussions and summing it up all together, the problem is big because digitization, we are saying, and everybody's having a handheld device. That means we are all on this digital platform. In these realms of the cyber world, manifesting the better utilization and benefits, but ensuring security is itself a challenge. The main ping to this thing is what we think today and the dynamism, the pace with which the requirement is changing to anticipate is itself a challenge. Planning, but anticipation of that itself is a challenge. Earlier we were having our intelligence, now we are having artificial intelligence, which is running much faster, breaking all records. And then anticipating what the world is going to offer us in the coming span of time is a challenge. Preparing for that itself carves out a very good plan. Now, being at this National Center of Excellence to which I am a part of, I'm leading research out here. There is a joint initiative of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology and Data Security Council of India with the great support of METI, Ministry of Electronics. We could run out the effort on one side for startups, but on the other arm for research and innovation. We could incentivize a very small fund to the researcher if he was having some idea. Because ideas, unless and until are given better shape, they're given an opportunity to work on, to develop that into a tangible experience, it loses value. It becomes easier if they have come up to a POC, they have developed a pilot project, they have given it a better shape. Now we have a form which we can connect to industry, which industry understands now well. So one segment where we could focus on was to incentivize those ideas which are having a more promising potential of developing a technology out of their effort. Another was to go for a co-creation kind of efforts where industry and researchers started working together. We have got very good examples whereby we have got the request from industry coming to us. We club that to the right researchers working in those domains. And together they have created technology which is now out, ready to be out to the market and creating value. As here also we could listen, the global market, globally, the research and those technologies are making the waves and creating values. So I think, yes, definitely if we can club both of them right away from beginning and we can create an impact that way, good. And definitely research and ideas need incentivization so that they can be given a better shape and can be connected well to the industry. But I think this efforts of the platform today and the inputs of Telecom itself and the strategies that we have got to look into creates a great confidence that this ecosystem is being informed well about what is the requirement of industry and is ready to embrace what is being developed from research so that together we can handshake and develop out a better preparedness to embrace technology. Every shoulder matters. So here in the system, when every stakeholders, everybody are brought to the same platform, it can create a great wondrous result. DSCI, through its small experience, that was itself a great support to METI. We could create an impact by helping, by bridging them together. I think more impetus is required to bring them together so that the demand that we have, Israel being a small nation, just by investing more from their GDPs into the research and innovation, developing products. And as rightly said, you think that it will be a solution, but how to use it in 10 more areas is what is the art Israel has learned, South Korea has learned, China has been accelerating on, US has mastery on. But we are showing our footprints and success so that if dwell more with greater impetus can carve out a greater success. So with this, I would like to thank the eminent panelists for their information, thought process. I think it would have created a good stir and stimulation among us all to think more, come with more values, contribute better, and to ensure that we have a very good nation and have self-reliant independent existence in terms of technology as led forth by Honorable Prime Minister himself. Thank you all, the eminent speakers. With this, I would just like to wrap this up. Oh, there are some questions. Oh, we will be very, very happy to answer. Please.
So I'm not sure whom do I direct this question to, but how do you make research more glamorous? Like when we were young, we wanted to serve Army, Navy, Air Force, CCS, Wipro, whatever. No one wants to be a researcher in, say, a private or a government university. How do you make it more glamorous? Gaurav pointed out, okay, salary is one issue. I'm not sure how ma'am can answer that part. But how do you say get the brightest of minds doing the best of things? There are companies outside starting with follow all those, the Infosys and everyone. And we have students who are volunteering here and they would love to work in those companies. However, very little, very insignificant number would like to get into research and would like to work. They don't see it as glamorous, they don't see it as appreciated in society in general. The parents who coming saying हमारा बेटा research करे, they would like to work at Infosys, not to create an Infosys, work in Infosys. How do you do that? How do you promote that?
Yeah. Dr. Gaurav wants to answer, so please go ahead.
The question is very good. It's not glamorous. It's not glamorous. So if you say that you are a researcher and someone is working at Google, definitely Google. So you know what is the choice of the people, right? So it's a very good thing that it's not glamorous. And I just wanted to focus on the same thing, that how you are going to take care of the manpower. So that's why that's what I said. The BTech student, he doesn't know what is research when he is graduating. He's gonna choose Google, always. And your manpower is already gone. So I'm talking about my student. He's sitting in front of me, right? He has done MTech with us, and we couldn't offer him. He got a good offer at Fraunhofer SIT in Germany. He's leaving next month, right? So the thing is, like, we have practical problems. We have talent in IIT. So I'm talking about only IIT. So we have talent in IITs. We have people who are there who can do this thing. We lose them early, and later on we say that, okay, we have a lot of projects coming in. By the time the projects are there, we do not have the people. You cannot bring the people back into those projects. I'm telling you, this is the reality of projects most of the times. In the projects, the research staff, which is working, this is not the best in class. And most of the people, even if the case of the IIT, I would have recruited more better staff of my own students if they would have been here.
So I think this is a pain point that has been put forward, like the challenges and all, so that if there is some better support, there is better inflow,
one thing, I just wanted to add that. So one thing is that the second thing which is very important to look at it is that when you talk about manpower, and you said that the manpower is gone and that the manpower which is coming back is not equally talented, you have a reason for it. And that's what I've said, that what is the monetary support? For example, most of the PhD students who used to join back Indian institutions, they are not of that number nowadays. They're getting more opportunities in America. They're getting more opportunities in Germany. They're getting more opportunities because they don't have their own manpower. Their manpower is not interested in joining PhD. So our Indian students, they're going more towards foreign institutions for doing PhD. That's where we're getting lack of actual research manpower.
Gaurav, I really would want to stop you right here because you're sitting in a session in AISS surrounded by startups. These are people who have many a times left their jobs to innovate because the madness about creating something is there in their hearts and their minds. It's not the money. Please understand, if you give money and if the IITs are so hung up on only earning a big pay package, we can't hold them back. But what we have managed to get back today, please allow me to finish. What we have managed to get back in this country is please go to higher academias, smaller academias, where people have left their jobs in the US, in the European countries and have come back. They are the people who have come back to do something for their country.
Yeah, thank you.
We should celebrate that.
Yeah,
We should try and value those people who want to do something for the country.
Yes, Tulika, so I am an example. I was in US. I
Very
left
good.
US
So I'm
and
glad.
came here.
So let's
the thing
not-
is like, thing is like what I'm saying is that's one point, but we cannot only look for nation lovers, right? We have to also be practical about it. So I'll be very practical. I'll not be like saying something which looks good. The practicality is if I'll get 20 lakhs, if I'll get 2
So
lakhs,
I'll tell you what
I'll go
solution
with
I
it.
found.
That's
I
the
found a
practical.
solution, Gaurav. Simply, I am no more funding any IIT, IIM, any of these so-called institutions of strength or energy because I have found that if I go to the product that today, I mean, we have an example here. Given them a very small grant in aid, and we got a product which is in the market. So I am going to tier 2, tier 3. I am finding innovations in the corners of the country, and my intent of the government, not mine, the government is to build that research capability in the country, which thinks for the country, which works for the country, and which looks at the problem statements that will solve for the country.
So I'm not going with respect to IIT or anything. I mean, that's your own decision. You can take
Actually,
it.
yeah,
Just the point that I'm making is, if you talk about a private college, if you talk about an IIT, it doesn't matter that. Even if you talk about a private college also, it's the same thing, right?
No, the point is, I think that has been rightly brought by both the sides, that we would also like to address to that there are challenges unless and until they are addressed well. There is definitely a difficulty in coming out with the success of the project that has been undertaken. And as ma'am said, innovation isn't hard. You cannot compel a person to do something. Like I think, lastly, like parents have been always heard of, like if you become a doctor, you will not have a night's sleep. Anytime you'll get a call and you have to be out of your bed to serve to the patient. But then we do have doctors. But then people are going to ISRO. Then Kalpana Chawla sacrificed her life for betterment, to lay down footprints. So this is then that whole intuitive thing coming from the heart, more from the soul. Next to that is that yes, this is a time we should create that force that yes, researchers are getting their chance of appreciation as well. So through this process of research productization, we have seen that when we connect research and industry, people come and embrace that, we create that door open, which we call as transfer of technology on the basis of the agreements and royalties, so that royalty must come back to my research fraternity, to the researchers, where they feel that yes, that appreciation through their work is coming back, which can now be utilized again for more efforts, more impact, more deep penetration, and more results. So I think there is always, we would all see, every side is not a green side. There are challenges to everything. Overcoming inspiring them, moving with impact, moving with energy is all about the life force we are all into. This is a life force we have got from METI, from DSCI, being a part of NCOE. We have enjoyed that. We have given that selflessly. And when we brought industry and researcher close, this culmination of technology has given us the success, these success stories has given us the vigor to deep down, to come out with more such results. And we are happy we could get this, because this is bringing us close to the time when our nation would be having indigenized cybersecurity solutions, having edge. No need to look for other countries. We would be self-reliant. So with this note, I would like to put an end to today's discussion. Thank you, all the eminent speakers. Special thanks to the Professor Khosla and Tulika Madam from Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. There was a great paucity of time and she sacrificed a lot many important initiatives and things, but she's always eager on the front toes to help us all in our initiatives, and this encouragement is really what we value for her. And Jadeep has traveled, but these, and Dr. Gaurav Varshney, he has been there with us, not only from top to down kind of exercises. Industry has given use case, he worked out. Now there was a research, we connected back. So I think this exercise, let it go with full fervor and bring the best for the betterment of our own nation with the same fervor, with same happiness and selfless impact. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you audiences as well.
Ma'am, so there is a small memento, so I am requesting the moderator to hand over the memento, please.
A small token of gratitude. So please.
There is a small token of love, so I am inviting Mr. Praveen to hand over those.
Thank you so much.